You got any snacks?
Sadly not.
I'll fade after an hour.
Right then, anyway, Big Wow boys, I finally got you all together in my little abode. Tim, evening. Matt,
Hello.
evening. Bob, evening.
Evening.
So then, I suppose I would like to start.
Have we started?
Yeah, we have.
Brilliant.
Yeah, we have. Can you hear him, can you? Yeah.
Good.
I think the first time, I know when I first saw it was when I started at the college and you did Insomnobabble.
Yes.
And I was just like, fucking hell, this is insane. I'd never seen anything like it. I'd never seen any physical theatre whatsoever. And so I didn't know what was possible with stuff like that, sort of like two guys either side of the stage talking to each other but not looking at each other. I was very like, oh, you can do that, can you? Arty, yeah. So as far as I remember, wasn't it Hope University when you sort of all met up? Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah?
In various different ways.
Yeah.
But
Well, I wasn't a student, I was a lecturer, and
Yeah.
Matthew and Timothy were at certain points
Your errant
Choir
charges.
my students. So, and then I don't think we worked. Matt was in a class, he turned up once with a black eye or something,
Yeah.
and there was something, and but I didn't meet Tim. Tim had a sort of lot of mythology around him.
Yeah.
There was sort of
aye.
Tim
This kid.
Lynskey.
Yeah,
oh.
blurry mythology.
There was sort of the other lecturers
Blurry.
talked about Tim with a certain,
a certain level of awe.
yeah.
Why
yeah.
was that then?
This is news to me.
No,
It's
I
awkward.
don't know because he was so tall, really.
Yeah.
Oh,
And,
right.
no, there was an idea, but anyway, we worked. We did a production of Road that I directed in the
Right.
third year, and that's when all three of us first worked together. But Matt was also before that. Matt was actually, when he was still a student, was in a play of mine called Almost Forever But, where he played a piece of sort of
Piece of what?
piece
A
of
piece of, were you going to say totty?
a piece of eye candy for
The eye candy.
for all the ladies out there. And,
This is with
Mr.
For the more mature ladies, to be fair.
Mr. October in Bob's play, then
Yes.
I take it.
there was a play called Almost Forever But. It's probably about a sort of ill-fated love romance match between a sort of a 40-year-old woman and a young sort of tearaway 21-year-old.
That was you.
whatever
You had that
was
lockdown
point.
at that point. Yeah.
And I don't think if that day when I met you in the library that day and you were still a student and I'd sort of taught Matt and I thought, oh God, he's really good. And I didn't think he was a bit of totty. And yeah, I just thought, oh no, he's a student. Maybe I shouldn't ask him. But then I went back into the library. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah.
And I went back and said, look, do you fancy come round to
Coming back to my place.
to be in some theatre.
And Alex Winter's already turned you down.
No,
He was in
no.
there at some point, though, wasn't he?
No,
No,
that's
he was
a complete
great.
myth.
He's a fine actor.
complete myth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Okay.
and then
There
did
was-
that, which was great.
There was some other lad from another college, but he just came across as too young, I think, at one point. But yeah, he was, yeah.
Brilliant.
So, and through that, then, Matt sort of became a friend, and then we did Road, and then we, that's the first time we ever worked together.
Yeah, it's a sort of, it's one of those things. You're kind of like the Jeremy Dyson in this setup, really, aren't you? You know, you're the guy who's not on stage with
Yes.
them, and so I think that there's a perception that Big Wow is just Tim and Matt, which
It might be fair to say that is a perception.
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the
Bob
one
loves
thing,
it.
the one,
I know. That's why I mentioned
yeah,
it.
the one thing that really pisses me off in life,
Right.
when people talk to me about Big Wow, as though, Matt, they're really good. They talk about it as though I've got nothing. I've had never anything to do with it.
Well,
Exactly.
People just think we make it
Yeah,
up, and
people
me
think
and
we
Tim are
improvise.
fine
Yeah.
with that.
And when people say to me, people always say to me, "Oh, you give Matt and Tim anything that could be really great, couldn't it?" It's like, no.
No.
Well, that Insomnobabble was fantastic.
Yes.
I mean, it
Yeah,
was.
we improvised all of that.
Yeah, I could tell. It was so different every night, you know.
Yes.
But I mean, I think that Sir and Eddie created there at that college at that time with you guys teaching and stuff. I think that I was really lucky to go there then and sort of lock into. I think it was at its sort of peak then, really, wasn't it? In terms
Yeah,
of
it was a great little gang of.
yeah,
teachers and people.
it was fantastic, you know.
And I think certainly Sarah, Eddie's a brilliant teacher, but I think Sarah certainly giving us the freedom to go and do what we want to do.
Yeah.
And at half the time, I'd be really flexible
Yeah.
about our working hours. Suddenly meant that people were getting current, up-to-date stuff
Yeah.
at the same time.
Yeah.
But she was always a fantastic. Yeah, it wouldn't have happened.
And it allowed us
Really.
to create stuff because we could then, whatever Matt and Tim were job sharing, and then on those other days we would always find time to get together.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a job share. Can we have the same 2.5 days each? Technically a job share, isn't
That's
it?
one of the things we were looking to get away
Yeah.
with, I think, really.
Oh, it was great. I mean, I'm just glad that I went there at that point in time, because when the idea was sort of, I come from a purely sort of musical performance background, and the idea was I'll go to college for 12 months, see if I can meet some people who know what they're doing. And
But I think when we did those performances at the college, always at the beginning of each academic year, that they had quite a profound influence on a lot of people, especially young people in the city who were coming through the college at that time. You know, even today, and I've been with Nathan McMullen, who just played the lead in.
Well, I
in
spoke
Me.
to him about that after we went to see the big
we were
guy.
talking about it, and he saw the poster for Insomnia Babble in my hallway, and we were talking about it, and you know. So,
Well, I mean, let's talk about
Well,
that for a
no,
bit. I
it's-
mean, the big I am was I'm not repeating what I called you when I came out, but it was like that. How dare you make me feel so much, you bastard? Because I'll be honest, it started off and I was like, this is funny, isn't it? And then by the end I was like, twat. Because I'd just been on it's really good, you know. You should. I should praise you for that. That was really
Thank you
good.
very much.
That was really good, and I
this
think
is
the
a play that I've
reviews
just done
are.
on at the Everyman. Is that,
Yeah.
Yeah, the big I am at the
Yes.
Everyman. Of course, people probably don't know what I'm
Yes.
on about, but
Watch this space; it may return.
looking at the reviews, I'd be surprised if
Yeah.
it didn't. I mean, it was a real. I mean,
They've kept the
you
set
were
in
there that
storage.
night, weren't you?
I
Yeah.
know we're probably supposed to say this because we know it was tremendous. It was super.
Yeah.
What?
Yes.
Brilliant.
No, it was.
So who knows?
It was
Yeah.
good.
So who knows?
And I
But-
spoke to Nathan afterwards, as you were saying, and we were talking about the college then.
Yeah.
You know, so
But no, Nathan was looking at all my big wow posters today and sort of going off. Oh, I saw all those. It was, you know, several shows. I think, and Insomnia Babble and Extra Happy or whatever other shows we did at that point. And
Sort of selfishly for me and Tim, like when we did those shows, because it was kind of like as the students arrived, we did them. It was great for us because one, it's a supportive audience, but two, that straight afterwards, then the students will listen. Because they go, all right, we get that's what you do, that's who you are, teachers. So it always meant that we were quite
We got to do a
fortunate.
show at the beginning of every academic year, basically. And winning the students over at the beginning of the year by showing that we could practice what we preach and we can make stupid jokes about
Fart gags.
keys and wanking or whatever. It was,
Well,
put us on it slightly.
I didn't know what to expect when I was a student there, and I just thought, rightly or wrongly, this is going to be shit. Because you're just used to that, aren't you, in education? You're used to the standard being, oh, that'll do. You know, so it was a real big surprise. And then having the ability, when I was planning Sir Henry, to quiz you both all year, you know, about little aspects of it. Because there's loads of what I saw that day in terms of staging and in terms of business that I didn't nick it, like, but you know what I mean.
Stuff, innit? That's
Yeah,
kind of
of
how it all
course.
works. Going,
Absolutely.
we're sat there watching like Bottom or those great things.
Yeah,
Big
Bottom.
Train.
And you know, when me and Matt saw a show called Yes, Yes, Yes by Ridiculousness in Edinburgh.
Right.
When Matt was performing.
Remember that name?
Almost forever, but and that had, I think that was sort of the
beginning of it.
The beginning of us thinking about a theatre company like Big Wow.
Yeah. So you did do Edinburgh, didn't you?
Oh, it was Big Wow. Yeah, four or five times. Yeah.
So, I mean, what do you make of that experience? Did that sort of pay off in any way?
One of the things that was difficult about Edinburgh is being able to afford to go up every year and to have the headspace to do it every year. And because we were sort of slightly victims of our own success, because the first year we went up, we did really well with Insomnia Babble, and we were the little show that everyone was talking about. People, I remember Bob had a great story of standing in a queue and people talking behind him about how great our show was.
No, they actually asked me. I got talking to them. It was.
Didn't they know you were in the troupe?
No, but it was literally one of those great moments. It was like I was queuing up to see another show at the Pleasance, and I think there was a slight delay, so people started talking in the queue and about other shows, and these people said, "Oh, have you seen Insomnibabble?" It's like. And I went, yeah, I wrote it. And
I still didn't believe in it.
We'll talk about the right. I didn't, but I created, I've scripted it and directed it. And they were like, and I'm not sure they entirely believed me, but then they did turn up again the following day, and I was there, so I said hello, and I suppose they had to believe me then. But a great moment, and I think with Insomnibabble, it was a moment where we had. There's nothing like that, having a hit show at Edinburgh that suddenly you're not expecting, and then suddenly a week and a half in, suddenly people start standing up, and suddenly it genuinely just takes off. And we didn't have to, after halfway through, flyering becomes irrelevant because you're just selling tickets, because somehow that word of mouth is just
elusive.
Just rarely happens in Edinburgh.
Yeah.
Well, that was one of the problems, is because we couldn't go up every year. People remembered us as the guys that did Insomnibabble.
And then I don't think we did shows that people wanted as much.
Yeah.
Right.
But there was something Japanese horror. Piece of comic Japanese horror.
Which is the Dark Grumblings show.
Sheesh that, mate.
I've never seen that. I've never seen, and I believe you. No, but you did. Didn't you do a fundraiser of that once? Didn't you resurrect it for a fundraiser?
No, we've never resurrected it because it was just so much.
Right,
so
stuff
random and stuff.
The set that we had in Edinburgh, we were planning to tour it afterwards if we could, but it was such a bless the guy that made it, Brian Hanlon. He spent his Christmas making it for us. And it was like a massive TV screen, all for one gag at the end of it, where we emerged out of it like the Ring. Oh, I'm giving away the ending, but it was, while we were there, it was a disaster because the space flooded. The set just got mould.
Yeah. Got mould.
So what?
Through Edinburgh.
Yeah, we couldn't get it down the stairs. There were 9 of us, I think. 12.
And Danny, our technician, loved the smoke machine so much. He kept setting off the fire alarm for the whole building. So, and it was dreadful because I'd had this abscess on my bum just before we went up. So I'd had a major operation, and then so I couldn't be around when we turned up. And then when I turned up, and what was that?
I hadn't slept for about 70 hours when Bob turned up, and we went to do the first show
because we couldn't do the tech.
Oh, the tech didn't work
because Danny kept setting the fire alarm,
and then the projector wouldn't sit in the cradle. So we spent a day trying to find a projector cradle in Edinburgh, and then redoing the tech at the only time they had, which was like 3 till 7, and then got the next bit. And so we got there, and I just remember going on before the first show, and just looking at Tim and being super aware that I hadn't slept for ages, and just went, I can't say anything. Literally, like, I'll not say anything. I just don't know. And we just went on, and it was weird.
It was a very silly show.
It was very silly. And then at the end there was this weird moment where we dragged up loads of speakers and put them underneath the audience so that everything just rattled as if this beast was coming through the thing. And it was genuinely probably the weirdest moment we ever hit. And you could feel the audience just going, they either went, yes, I believe in this, or most of them went, what the actual is going on? It was a really clear response, but...
So this is on a 15-minute turnaround at the Pleasance, was it? That you were getting all this stuff...
That was at the Underbelly.
At the Underbelly.
We pushed the margins.
Yeah, it was...
What, you got it all in 15 minutes?
Well, it was just kept getting fined.
Yeah.
Right. It was just hemorrhaging even more money. Like, how many minutes are we over today? 5, guys. Is that £10 a minute? Yes, £50. Yeah. £50. God.
But this is almost...
But then in Friendship Experiment, because we did... So Insomnibabble, which we turned up, and that was a huge hit, and then we got lots of attention for that, and then we did a tour of it, and then we could have, and we should have won a Fringe first for it. I don't know why.
Blackwatch,
at least.
That's why.
Yeah. And we were down to
everything.
We were
up there. You're going to be
stage best ensemble, and they gave it to Blackwatch again. It won, you know, they had awards coming out of every orifice, and
it was the pool table what done it.
Yes. You know,
That's
but
what done it.
obviously a truly great piece of theatre. But they, you know, but it came to, there was one deciding vote between Blackwatch, the National Theatre of Scotland, and us. You know, for the best ensemble in Edinburgh that year, and it would have. I don't know if it made a difference, but it would have been a great. It would have made something of a difference to us. And,
most definitely.
And the deciding vote went to them, and they were all so busy they couldn't be. No one from there was there to pitch up. Oh, they were probably performing actually, but so it was. Yeah.
Well, the thing is, I mean,
I'm still bitter about it.
You sound like Bruce Forsyth when he's on about his daughter not getting it. Have you ever seen that clip? Yeah, he's like 30 years later. He's like, she didn't get it. But the way you're going about Dark Grumblings in Edinburgh sounds like Fitzcarraldo or whatever, where he's dragging the boat over.
It was, Mick Jagger was in it originally.
Yeah.
Very much like that.
So that's the sort of, now that's become the mythical missing big wow story, you know.
But then we brought it back to Liverpool after that, and we did a really brilliant run. Because we had all the technology. It was just a show that required a lot of technology and a lot of sound, and the Liverpool audience got its silliness more. You know, there was that was where we got the review from this woman who is now a very successful playwright.
Who should we name nameless?
Called Ella Hexon. Who
is your mic's close enough? You're close enough.
Who then
can move it towards you.
Who equated us to the Chuckle Brothers.
What?
Quite pleased,
I've never heard the Chuckle Brothers declare "Let's spoon," which as I recall, bringing the house down with the Insomnobabble.
So then we cited that and in the next show.
Well, why not? I mean,
that's the moment, because then because after Dark Grumblings, which was so technologically silly for Edinburgh, we decided to do a show that had no lighting and no set whatsoever. The lights go up at the beginning and then had one sound cue at the end. So that was it.
Which we always slightly reacted to the last show, didn't we?
Yes.
Like of pushing it in a different way.
Yeah. Or making that decision, like you say about Insomnobabble, and when we did the scratch for that, and the idea, those ideas started before it was called that, but the idea of, what's your character called in Insomnobabble? Keith. And I remember that character came from me seeing this bloke in Bold Street Cafe, or what it was then, and this character who was complete, office worker, just looked absolutely shriveled by his life, and that was just the beginning of that I think when next time we were working, and I sort of took that character, we were talking about that character, and that was the beginning of Keith, that then became the madness that was in Insomnobabble.
Yeah, it was absolute fucking madness. I remember watching it and just being like, I like the little name stickers and stuff like that. There's all sorts of little things that I thought were quite
well, Tim said everyone else.
Yeah, that was the two names.
Yeah, that's right. Everyone else, which is kind of the dynamic anyway, isn't it? In the Big Wow show.
I never got a pattern where Matt would sit down in most shows. And I'd play all the women.
Yes. Well, it was in there.
Tim's got very feminine hands. Yeah. There was just something about when you were, or ladyboy hands.
You got proper ladyboy hands.
I'll take that, thank you.
Because we did, Insomnobabble was our third show, which I think when we started really.
Has Insomnobabble got the self-help group where you jump from chair to chair? Yeah, because I always get that mixed up with the acid trip in the Friendship Experiment, or is the Art of Falling Apart?
Falling Apart, isn't it?
That's fucking great.
There's a proper acid trip in Swanky Geezer Bollocks.
Well, that's before my time.
Yeah.
Sequel.
That's where Matt ate a whole
Battenberg.
That's it, yeah.
In one go. All in my mouth at once.
On the stage, not playing.
No, film, but actually did it. And then we reversed it so you just see it.
Right.
It was real.
Oh, so this is the trip in that?
Yeah, it's real.
It was a proper
weird.
trip, yeah.
Because that started off as
This is what we just say random.
See, now I'm I'm missing out.
What was
This is probably one of our personal favourites.
Do the line.
The light solid. Yeah.
It's my favourite.
I want cucumber and LSD sandwich.
Do you want some LSD?
What's LSD?
It's the light salad dressing.
Just a Mick Jagger character. And then Eddie's head and right
The Edward Fox film we got.
Yeah, performance. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm not going to let you stay in the film business.
Yeah,
and all
yeah,
that
yeah.
stuff. Yeah, that's a great movie.
Oh yes.
When are you going to do that again then, just so I can watch it? Because you should be doing it again.
That's the one that I think people haven't seen most. I often get that people just going, "Oh, that's the one," because I think we sort of had Extra Happy, and then because we brought that back as the last thing we did. It is kind of that second one before, because it was after Insomnobabble that people really got.
Yeah, it was basically
a wider Liverpool non-theatre audience got us in.
Yeah.
Got us after that. Whereas before that, it was kind of a little bit more the Unity audience, our friends, students. It was a little bit more of a building that audience.
Yeah, we based that one on, we used to, because we did a series of shorts before we did a full show, and we expanded one of our better shorts, the one that Bob took over.
So we didn't. Matt and Tim originally. So Matt and Tim were on the Hope Street course after their degree, and then were doing stuff. And then I don't know, how did that come about? You would.
It was just because I moved back to your house,
Bob.
Basically, at times of crisis, I move into Bob's house.
We were looking about in
like
the
most of
years,
like most of the Liverpool theatre scene. We knew each other and Hope Street, and we graduated and whatnot. But then I'd done a bit of job in acting around. Like Red Lad, a couple of tours with Crag Rats, but I knew I wanted to be back in Liverpool, and I knew from doing other people's stuff, I knew I didn't want to do other people's stuff anymore. I just didn't enjoy it as much, and I just wanted to work with people that I know and like and be a bit mad. And me and Tim had always got on really.
Well, didn't you live in a madhouse at one point with some kind of, what was the landlord? What was he, Russian or?
Oh no,
yeah, we shared the same landlord.
Different addresses, but
was it?
Yeah.
I always love the story about.
I mean,
we've got mutually sort of combining stories in some cases, in the sense that the first day I moved in, he came round and because there was I noticed the wall was bulging, and where I was living, it was like an attic ceiling, and my advice is never press a bulging wall when you see it sort of flexing, and thousands of wasps flew out of it, and then I'm in nothing but a towel, and so I had to call this guy, the landlord, and he came round and he stripped down to his pants and his vest, put a pair of marigolds on, got 2 cans of fly spray,
massive man,
big like hands like shovels, really friendly.
Is there a Russian fella or something?
I think he's Iranian or Iraqi.
That was it, yeah.
He was a lovely guy, but he just went in and went, I take care of everything, and he just started spraying, and he shut himself in there. He didn't come out for that now until he just exterminated a genocide of these wasps, and it turns out we shared the same landlord.
Yeah, mine was, we once got, I was living with friends, and we got burgled, and they'd kicked the door in, literally a wooden door in half. It had been smashed down, so it was in 2 entirely separate halves, and I came back to find him gluing the door back together, and I was like, I think we need a new door, and he's like, no, stronger than wood. I was like, well, it's not, is it? It's not stronger than wood, but okay, that's fine.
So this
lovely
is
bloke,
like no nails or something.
Not even that, just like PVA or something. It was shabby.
So it said on the box, "Is stronger than wood,"
and that's just what he said.
That was it.
Happy.
Fantastic.
But he was never together. But he was, he was a good bloke though as well.
Top stories. So Bob's must have been a lovely oasis of calm.
Absolutely.
After all that craziness.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But you should really put that on again, because I have not seen it.
That's the reason.
Yeah, I'd like to see it. I mean,
But what was? It was basically a parody of those Brit gangster films at that point, So it was called Arg. Dreadful title was its first title. I've still got a poster of that with that.
Yeah, I have as well. Yeah.
But then we called it Swanky Geezer Nonsense,
Which
much better title.
So what was this, a Unity job again?
Yes.
Yeah, everything was the Unity. I mean, Graham Phillips was just the most ardent supporter. He was such a top bloke when he was there, and he just invested in us from the start.
January
that slot was ours.
Always ours.
Well, that was it, and you were sold out for 4 weeks every year, though, weren't you? I mean,
towards the end.
Yeah. We could sell a lot of tickets, and we do the shows every twice.
So we did,
we'd sort of do the first ever showing of it in January, then probably work it a bit, and then come back the following January. And so we were selling 3 weeks.
Yeah.
We were selling out easily, twice. So it was a lot of tickets. Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Unity.
There must be
we built up a really lovely following, and a really strong following,
Well, that's what I was just thinking about. All those people who were so used to that, and now, there ain't nothing for them to see, I suppose, at the minute with you.
No, not with us. I mean, there's still stuff on at the uni.
Yeah. Oh no, but I mean,
all the big
and it really was, and I think that's what we had, which was that regularity of it. I think people just knew New Year, big wow show, and that helped. That slot helped us out loads.
Yeah,
and we had a really clear voice as a theatre company. That was that we were. Yeah.
So in terms of the devising of the pieces, I mean, I think it's really useful for anyone hearing it, and also for me, it's just, I mean, how did you go about writing the pieces? Was there any sort of...
Well, like we were just sort of edging towards there, Matt and Tim started doing these after-show sketches. At the
Unity. Scratch things.
No, but in the bar at the Unity.
Yeah.
Sort of 10, 15 minutes sketches.
So the show would finish... People would get a beer, then we'd just literally stand on a tiny little stage in the bar and do stuff.
Yeah.
On the Friday and Saturday nights.
Yeah, so we did a little run of them, didn't we?
So they did. I remember I went to the first one.
Sorry, I am listening. I'm just... his mic's not the right
the first or... The first, what was the first one with the dead baby?
Dead
baby. The first one was
Dead
called
Baby on a Chain.
We need some direction
Hunters.
here.
Hunters.
Urban Hunters.
And then there was another piece that involved Matt as a robot or something.
Right.
Technotron. I still think that's one of the greatest pieces we've ever made.
The good that's in Technotron.
And obviously they were good friends of mine anyway. But I turned up to watch them and I thought, the great performance, whatever, and I thought, I loved the energy of what they were doing, but I thought...
Which is what you write on kids' reports.
Yeah.
Great energy.
But I thought the scripts could do with some work.
Right.
And
which we knew, to be fair, we knew.
And then...
It's right way around.
And then I think for the next one, for some reason I turned up at Matt's flat, and they would always be worked out on the Wednesday or Thursday before they did them on the Friday. Yeah. And I can't remember what sketch. We made up a sketch in about an afternoon, and we just had great fun doing it. And then it sort of just grew out of that. We just would meet up once a week and start developing.
Anything really.
Yeah, so it's sort of like I was in the process of giving up my teaching job, but I still wanted to create a theatre company. I was very much into creating a theatre company that was devised but very written at the same time. Yeah. So that's what...
Which is, I think, what we always had was the feeling of madness and devised, but actually there's not an inch on it. Every single beat is written in the end.
Well, all rehearsed.
That's very, very difficult, though, to achieve, isn't it? To keep the spontaneity and to... And you did pull it off. I mean, there's no two ways about that. Mm. But I mean, it's. I think that's the hardest trick to achieve. That's certainly what I found in doing this stuff, to make it spontaneous and to give the impression that you're saying the words for the first time. Yeah. I mean, that's one of those things that takes so much work, doesn't it? I mean, I don't know if you found this, but what I found was the process was you got to the point where it just wasn't working anymore, and then it was ready for an audience. It sort of felt like that. It's like, right, the rehearsal room's no longer big enough to contain this. You need that feedback. And then you can give the impression that you're saying the words for the first time. Good, some fresh interaction. Yeah. But, I mean, I always remember you telling me about when you got dragged in to do something about the 27 Club or something, and you hadn't...
Oh, God, please don't.
No, we're not going to go down that route. But that was something that you sort of learned very quickly as well, wasn't it? You just got the lines and got them more or less nailed.
Sort of. More or less is the key there.
Tell the story if you want. No, all right then. But, I mean...
But with Big Wow, it was like we would spend, we spend hours just knocking ideas about. And I suppose we sort of had beginner's luck with Extra Happy Happy when we sort of the idea, I think I had the idea originally about doing something about the travelling experience, and for Matt and Tim's generation at that point, and
my best mate Will, he was away doing it, and had sort of come back and gone, I was like, oh wow.
And I'd done it a little bit, but obviously it had changed quite a bit in those intervening decades, and and then there was something about Will had talked about a pizza place where the title came from.
Extra happy. So it was Mama Hands.
Yeah.
Basically, they just gave you a rubber ring, a massive spliff, and a pizza, and dragged you out into the middle of the Vietnamese Ocean, and then left you. That was the experience. And
that
you
was
just
extra
waited.
happy.
That was where we based this ideal travelling thing from.
Jesus.
Which is something he actually did. And we
did
were
he
like,
enjoy it?
Yeah.
Oh wow! All right, fair enough. I can't think of anything worse. Really.
But making that show is probably the best fun I've ever had making a show ever.
It just happened.
It was just hysterical.
Yeah.
Everything about it was just, and it's very juvenile.
It's incredible.
There I was,
I think we came up with the end literally before we were about to go on the first night at home. Something like. But it
or the moment when, and I realised, that we were dedicated to the cause, or Matt and Tim were, that in the scene where I'm talking about Tim's lady fingers and ladyboy fingers, and he sort of one of his character disappears, and then Matt's playing this, one of his northern characters and main characters, and and he goes to visit a prostitute in where would it be?
Mousayak.
Yeah.
Our fictional.
And
Southeast
Asian country.
And then we got to this point where it had to. Tim had to cut Matt's bollocks in his hand. It was just like.
I remember we were devising it.
He was closer.
Tony said, "Take your pants off," and I was like, "I'm still in my undies." And then there was just an acknowledgement, an unsaid acknowledgement in the room of if we did this, it would bring the house, and we just knew it would just stop the show.
Yeah.
And then we decided that was what we would do.
So go on, what happened?
So I just you can't see it since he calls me across.
So he makes a decision to go and see a prostitute, and he's not really
through
fussy.
Through a hallway.
A hallway through another hallway. Just some really.
You want blondie, brunette, gingham.
Yeah.
We got them all. Yeah. So he sees a dodgy fella, sees a dodgy geezer about seeing getting a lady of the night, and then he wanders down his little dark alleyways, and then he ends up in a room where there's just a chair with it's back to the audience, just me
Tim with a wig on,
and me with one of my many roles of wearing a wig and sticking my hand out with my back to the audience, just hand performing really with some
ladyboy hands.
Ladyboy hands.
And the rest I've blocked out for my own mentality, I think.
But it was that moment where, like Matt says, it's like, well, if we go there, that's a lot further than most people
will go.
Yeah,
and obviously then, and that show you did as well to the college as well. So it was like,
which just was like you could just sense everyone going, "Oh my god!"
So you're doing it to a lot of impressionable 16, 17-year-olds.
I know. We're just talking
blows
about
their head.
Yeah,
especially when in Insomnibabble when Matt and Tim nearly kiss at one point.
Well, that's the spoon.
But that's sort of beautiful at the time as well, isn't it?
Oh yes.
It's like not.
But it also prop, isn't it?
Yeah, but when you do it normally, it's just a moment in the show, people sort of go along with. But when we did it to those 16, 17-year-olds at the college, they'd lose their rag, wouldn't they? They were just, oh my God, there's two men going to kiss.
Yeah. I remember it.
And then when they don't quite, there's this sort of, oh, thank God. Thank God. They would go slightly hysterical.
That was a great experience. But I remember somebody telling me years ago about his mate who went all around the world, on one of these, like you say, travelling. And he was gone 8 years, and he come back home, and he said, "Oh, let's go down the pub like we used to." It's like, "Oh, great!" So they went in the pub, and there's this old boy sat at the bar like he always was, and he puts his pipe down. He's like that. "Now then, lad, where's that been? Ain't snug." And he'd been around the world for 8 years.
Brilliant.
So that's about right for round here. People don't go anywhere, and if they do, they come back. That's the trouble. We're all boomerangs in this this part of the world. But I mean. No, I'm never ever going to see Dark Grumblings, am I?
No.
No.
I should have I've got various props of it in my study. I've got the mask.
Mrs. Eversausage.
Mrs. Haversausage I've got.
See, this is
That's a
just
pun on-
selling it
that's-
more.
That's a pun on Mrs. Havisham.
But this is just selling me more on it.
I had a fantastic stage injury doing Darkroom.
Oh,
where
you
I
did?
smashed my face into one of our hulking great bits of wooden set, and I didn't realise I had blood gushing from my forehead. This is right at the beginning of the show as well. And then I went out on stage and Matt was just staring at me. And I was waiting for him to deliver his line. His eyes just went, he was just looking at the centre of my forehead with stark terror in his face.
And because I have limited improvisational skills or ability to stray from a set path once I'm on stage, I just kept going. So Tim had to keep going. Just dripping blood. I was like, I have to keep going, be all right.
Well, it's a horror story. So it's just perfect, isn't it?
Yeah.
I did that at the Epstein. I walked round the side of the thing and some fucking scaffolding pullers went in the gob like that. And I come round the other side. I was like, anyway, here we go. And you've just got to carry on, haven't you? Dr. Theatre, as Eddie calls it. That's his one thing. So what are you going to do then with all this stuff? You sound like you've got recordings that you never used. I mean, there was a BBC thing. Who was telling
There
me
was
about?
nearly a BBC thing
Yeah.
at one point. So we kind of got to a point where we pitched loads of different radio ideas with a producer, Julie McKenzie, who was great and really supportive. But we kind of kept getting there was lots of times when there was lots of committees or judging panels or whatever that the commissioners were split 50-50, and there was always a casting vote that went against us, and I think that's a bit of because of what we do. It's a bit. I think people love it, but equally, I think some people go, it's not really what we're into. So we've always sort of understood that. And I think that gives the loyal audience that we have.
I know we
even
sort of
more
wanted
'cause
to
they love
do
it.
radio, but I'm not sure we ever found anything that was.
Right.
It's a very
suited us
different
for it.
medium than what you're known for.
Yes,
Yeah.
but
Isn't
also
it?
because Matt and Tim's voices, it would be very different as well, because Matt and Tim's voices are so used to each other and we're so used to working with each other that I think it would give it a different, very different feel.
And I think that's the big thing as well. Was that, although it was all three of us, it's the on-stage double act of having two performers who have been together for so long is a bit rare nowadays.
Oh, absolutely.
There's a sort of real old school thing of that, but right now there's not that many.
No.
There's still the
that-
Chuckle Brothers.
Yeah. You know, your peers.
Yes.
And I think that thing, I think we were bigger than the sum of our parts, or whatever that phrase is. I think we all had the bits that we needed. That I could slightly hold a everyman-y kind of role, whereas Tim had that amazing ability to character shift. Bob gives us the structure, the ideas. It just worked as a three. And it's only now just doing other stuff as well, and sort of the reaction of wanting to make my own stuff was from that. But of going, actually, it was a really. Yeah, and there really was never a bad word spoken between us. Do you know what I mean? It was like it's a genuine thing. We just got on.
So I mean, what was it that you were doing on the radio? I mean, what were you exploring in that regard?
No, we had a commission via Julia to do something. We came up with a version of Insomnibabble that was going to be 6 or 15-minute late night piece. So it was going to be a late night piece. So. And I can't remember exactly what we
got paid to develop.
Yeah, absolutely. We did it through Charlotte.
Checks are cash. There's no arguing now.
We did it through my agent, and it was very nearly got there, but it didn't.
And how much of it
by a vote of 3-2.
Yeah, no, I remember you telling. I mean, how much of it was recorded?
None of it.
Didn't we do?
None of
No, we
that.
recorded
No, I think we recorded
a load of
episode.
it. Did we? Are.
But
Yeah,
that might
yes.
have been just for ourselves,
Yes.
maybe. Yeah, no, that does exist.
But we have got lots of other recordings.
Yeah, we started a sketch show.
Yeah.
I think we were unlucky with the timing of when they wanted different formats as well, because when we were working on Insomnibabble, I think there was all sorts of nonsense with the panel, like somebody was off on maternity leave and was replaced by somebody.
That was right.
So somebody who would have chosen us was not there, but they were being temporarily, I don't know. And then,
But who knows? But
Yeah,
we didn't.
We didn't. That's the end of it.
No,
it was a good
it
experience.
But that, whether or not, but then our lives weren't, if you're going to be like, say like Ridiculousness, you have to give up certain aspects of your life, because you have to, with us to have worked really, it's not, we would have to tour, and that requires a lot of work and a lot of effort and
to play to 6 people at
Inverness or whatever, yeah.
Garden or whatever.
Yeah. Yes.
It's just soul destroying.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But
Whereas we did have
We've
quite a
all
nice
done
tour
it.
on the back of Insomnia Babble, but it was sort of like we just didn't have the infrastructure to operate, you know. So we were just adding the infrastructure to operate as a company that was, you know, we did our shows in Liverpool and Edinburgh, and that was it really.
Didn't you do Shepherd's Bush Empire or something?
yeah, that was through Julia. That was for a Children in Need thing where we came and did just a little. I think the first.
That was amazing.
That was brilliant.
1,500 people.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
it was incredible. And then we were
we
followed
did.
by a robot,
Yeah.
a massive
Yeah.
giant robot.
It went down well.
Yeah.
You know, I was in the audience,
yeah,
and
I
it
bet
was great. But it was
Al
like,
Murray was there,
Al
and
Murray,
he was
yeah.
like, "That was amazing,
Totally
guys."
like
It was
us,
like, yeah, he was a lovely bloke.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and that was off the back of that Insomnia Babble.
Yes.
So, again, just
That momentum.
a bit of that momentum. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
And we could, yes, and you know, we should have. What did we? Friendship Experiment, and then we finished with The Art Falling Apart,
Yeah. Yeah,
which
kind
I
of-
think. I mean, I think our two most successful shows were Insomnia Babble and The Art Falling Apart. Is where I think, you know, I think Art Falling Apart is probably our best show.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very poignant.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Very
where
poignant.
we sort of set out to make something that a straighter theatre audience would like us.
Yeah.
You know, whereas there was a sort of certain snobbish value, as people would be slightly snobby about us because we made people laugh so much,
Yeah. Yeah.
and they couldn't.
And we just then we'd set out. It was
Yeah.
literally we just want to hammer people for however
Yeah.
long, and
Yeah.
that was the plan.
yeah,
Yeah.
And then actually,
Yeah.
people wanted like
yeah,
people wanted us to be a bit more
considered.
considered.
Whereas we are, you know, we would. What I loved is that, you know, sort of say 2 minutes before Matt and Tim would go on stage, we'd be talking about one line in the play or one word in the piece. That, well, is that funnier than that? What's, you know, the funny?
Always
Or
wanted to make it.
numbers.
Or just everything. There was always
Yeah,
that
what
thing.
numbers are funny?
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
37. No, 143. That is.
Yeah, let's do that.
Like, it was a really weird. But it's a really weird science. Like you say,
Yeah.
the same line.
And we'd experiment with
And one
all
gets a
different
laugh and one
lines
doesn't.
about
Yeah.
TV programmes in Art Falling Apart, wasn't it? With the girlfriend character.
Oh, yeah, that was
Yeah,
a great
yeah,
scene
Yeah.
as well.
Oh, that whole opening sequence. Wow, that was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wasn't there something every night that you changed the name for? I think the night I recall being there was Bob's Bong or something like
Oh
that.
God, no.
Do you know what I
No,
mean?
that was because that was the last ever performance.
That's it,
So
yeah,
Tim said, it's a bong in the shape of
That was it.
Bob Marley's head.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Robert Farquhar's head.
Yeah.
That was it.
So that was just
yeah.
an in-joke for
Yeah.
people in the audience. Yeah.
Yeah. Now that was great. I mean, didn't you did film it once, didn't you? You did film one of the shows, and you said it was all people's feet or something.
Oh, we got a
Oh no, we
company to
paid
film-
someone
yeah,
to do
we
that.
paid a
We paid a company
film.
to film it, and they filmed people's feet.
Oh.
Because Matt was wearing for the one,
I'd forgotten
one
my
occasion
shoes.
we were wearing matching outfits for Insomnia Babble, including matching shoes, and for this one occasion by coincidence, and it didn't make a difference at all. Matt brought different shoes for that day, and the cameraman who we had paid to film it zoomed in on Matt's shoes.
Like during scenes, as if to go, ooh.
What
For,
the
like-
fuck? I still can't get my head around that when you've
and
told me.
that's the only one.
I think it
we
was
seem
so
to have.
polite we still paid him.
Yes.
There wasn't.
There's a play, a 1958 or something BBC play, which has got Wilfred Bramble and Harry H. Corbett in it, and because they were trying to be before
Yeah.
Stepped Up,
Yeah.
and they were trying to be all avant-garde and that, and there are entire conversation scenes that are just people's feet, you know, just talking to each other. So I wonder if you'd seen Fountains of Spring. Yeah, I have no idea, but
I doubt it.
yeah.
Just rubbish.
Yeah.
Just rubbish.
Well, which one was that?
Insomnia Babble.
Insomnia Babble.
Yeah.
But you've got the audio presumably from that.
Yeah, I mean, we've got various bits filmed, I think, but it used to always get to the last night and we'd go, we didn't film it.
Yeah.
There was a
There are
level of
various
shambolicness.
videotapes and things. I don't know where they are.
But there's so much shit to do on a show day, isn't there? There's so many little silly little things to do, and you've got the stress of the performance. There's so many things I've not done that are just, why didn't I do it? I remember doing, I got invited to do, and I'd never done stand-up before. The first time I ever did it was at the Borderline in London, supporting the Ruttles doing stand-up, John Otway and the Ruttles and me. And it was like great, and I took the camcorder down and the tripod, and it was in the calendar, and I was shitting myself, and I did it, and I come out, oh fuck, I didn't film it. And you've got a head full of shit, haven't you?
Yeah.
I mean, I hate the show day. It's terrifying. You don't care anymore, you told me.
No, not towards the end. I used to get quite nervous early on, but like it was so. By the end, it's just a joy because you know, even if stuff goes wrong, especially with him, if something goes wrong, he's going to cover it.
Yeah.
He's going to sort that out.
Yeah.
He probably is not going to say that back the other way.
But then we became so confident with the shows,
Yeah,
you know, that
we
by
had
the time we
swagger
knew
with it.
that, and the audience were turning up wanting to have a good time, and the show gave them a good time, and we had, you know, so that was just a joy, you know.
And I think that thing, especially in Liverpool, that audience that we built, just they cared, like genuinely cared for us.
Yeah.
We cared for them.
Yeah.
We wanted to do our best for them, and they could sense that.
Those shows were loved.
There was no.
And sometimes when we did scratch nights, when we were working out new material, and you know, it was just there would just be one night, and you know, a load of people would turn up who were, you know, I suppose we're sort of fans, and I always felt people laughed way too easily. It was like one of those things where, well, it's not that good. It doesn't deserve that level of laugh or whatever. But but that's a really good place to be in.
Yeah, I mean,
and we'd never rest on our laurels. I think that's what we'd always wanted. We always wanted to create different stuff, and if you know, and if at any point we do another show, I'd want it to be very different to anything we ever did before. You know, maybe much more of a straight play or whatever. Or I always had this thing about Matt and Tim, sort of, because Tim's hair was a lot longer, or you know, Matt doing it with, you know, it was always clean shit. Matt with his beard, you know, and Tim, you know, and Tim maybe you know, really cutting his hair short or whatever. So there was a very, very different look. To them.
I always thought you should have done Godot. I always thought that would be fantastic with the three of you doing it, because I mean, Aid Edmondson and Rick Mayo did it, and that was great. And
or we could do our own version of it.
Well, of course,
couldn't we? Because you can't really mess with it that much.
No. There's a great version, a Maxwell and Leo McKern version that I've got, which is brilliant.
I mean, I saw that Aid Edmondson. Rick Mayo.
Yeah, I remember you telling me that you went to see it, but I mean, how many strings do you all have to your bows now? I mean, you were saying at Christmas that you just love directing and.
I mean, I sort of got into that and doing all the stuff at Young Everyman Playhouse, which is what I do now. I just love. It's been another thing that I've got to sort of build and make and stuff. And I certainly felt, I don't know, I feel a bit more at ease with directing immediately. But but it's that's caught. Well, it's not just that, but the sort of reasons why we didn't suddenly stop because we didn't get on or anything. There's it just became a proper job for me. Tim was doing a lot of his lecturing, and the times didn't match up in terms of I'd be doing weekends and evenings. He'd be there in the day, so it was kind of just
you
a
had
drift.
A baby.
I had a baby. Yes,
well
was
done.
another reason. A big reason. So it was just a bit of everything. Really, I think.
Well, I never thought that was in any. I didn't think that there was any enmity or anything. It seemed like a band that, you know, that's what it seemed like. And like, they're not going to make an LP for a bit, but but they probably will, you know, once they've done all their solo bits. That's the way it seemed to me.
Yes, yeah.
You know, because I can't see, and I know all three of you, and I don't see you not doing something in some way, shape or form in the future. I mean, I can't imagine why you wouldn't.
Yeah.
I mean, one thing what you might think of doing, I don't know, I've no idea, but I mean, it's something other than theatre. Maybe you could fit in filming and doing a scene hither and yon, couldn't you? Really, because I always thought that your stuff should be filmed, you know, because there was so much going on that stage that I think it definitely stood up to repeated viewings, because I can remember going and there were people there night after night to see the show.
Yeah.
So there was obviously mileage in that, you know, but it's so difficult. I mean, you've got guys who are filming feet, I know that, but I mean, it's so difficult, isn't it, to capture any kind of performance on film?
Look at this, especially because a lot of our stuff relied on rhythm. And which doesn't always translate to camera. It's like gags translate and characters, but actually the real back and forth, it's an old school double act.
You know, because it's that joy saying falling apart, you know, when Matt and Tim, the party scene, and they're both playing about 4 or 5 different characters each, you know, and it's just like, you know, so it's a piece of choreographed physical theatre, but just but that it's a purely theatrical device, and I don't think in anywhere else it. And the joy of it is that you know that you're in a space with just 2 actors, but you feel as though you're watching 10 simultaneously. Or that idea of when I originally came up with the idea of Tim doing the self-help group, which comes from originally we watched Fight Club, and that's where that idea came from.
Right.
All those self-help groups in that.
Right. I'm just thinking. I'm just remembering that.
What was it called? The self-help group. We had a great acronym for it, didn't we? Yeah. And what was his name? The bloke. This is I just asked Tim to do the voice.
Go on, Tim, do the voice.
Do the voice. Do a voice, Tim.
I can't
what's it?
remember what it's called. That's horrendous.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's because I was.
No,
thinking
it's
about-
all right. Keith, the depressed.
Andy.
Yes. Oh, Andy. Oh, of course.
It is,
And he was another character that we had. Yeah, because that Insomnia Babble came from that sketch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Happy Andy's
Happy
5
Andy.
hops to
How
happiness.
happy am I? Yeah.
I'm really happy.
Yes. And we had
It
these.
came from that, didn't it?
Yeah, we had. He said, "How happy am I?" He would have these extended hands.
So Mary goes, "I'm this happy." Wow.
Those were the.
That we then did the worst, probably the most ill-judged joke we ever did. Was then we did it as a sketch for this organisation called Business in the Arts.
Right.
Who, a really well-meaning group, and we did it for whatever reason, and we changed it. We are doing busyness in the arse,
First line out, end of.
which we found really funny.
And thought they'd laugh at it. But then there was another. So Jake Norton was doing a bit. Another actor.
Yeah.
Who was it? There was another girl there. Who was it? There was a girl there as well. Somebody else we knew anyway. 2 of our mates from the acting world that were at the back of the audience because they were doing like some fake waiters or whatever.
Right.
And literally, just remember looking up and Alex Norton just being like. Just knowing we'd stacked it. He just knew we'd stacked it. It was brilliant. He was just like, good luck with that.
Busyness in the arse.
Terrible.
Oh yeah. Well, you got away with it. I mean, again, you cash the checks. There's no refunds, is there?
Yeah, but they didn't give us any. Yeah, they were. Yeah.
No repeat work.
Anyway.
No.
Anyway.
Now those ensemble scenes were always ensemble. Again, that's the sort of the memory you retain of it, as if there's a bunch of people and it's and it's just the 2. Yeah.
And we always had that idea that we were going to do a show that was the whole show was that.
Yeah.
Was just starts and then it's a whole sequence of characters in that way that just interweave over a long sequence.
Oh, those. I mean, it was like a night out. It wasn't just a trip, was it? It was the Art of Falling Apart.
It became a sort of benchmark for all the shows, really. Of like, what's the big moment? What we're going to build?
How can we push it further?
Yeah, what's going to bring the?
It was really good though. It was really good with the lighting and Simon, I presume, was doing all the sound as well.
Great. So that was the night out, as it were.
I also remember you smoking the spliff in the scene. It was like it was just fucking great face that you put on it, did it? It was great.
Mobile face.
Yeah. Oh, it was superb. It really was. Yeah. It was an unfortunate sequence of events, that thing, wasn't it? Didn't it start with something being stuck on the TiVo and it was you ringing up and something, and you realised you wouldn't live long enough to watch all this stuff you'd recorded.
Yeah,
is that right?
Well, that's a line in it that Callum, Matt's character, Everyman character, and his girlfriend at home, and she doesn't know how to work the TiVo, and
that was it. Yeah. Oh man, it just starts straight away. Oh fucking hell, and that's it for an hour.
Hour 15. But that show landed really well in Edinburgh. Landed really well, and there was one of the final performances we did of that when we were at the Pleasance, and quite a bigger space than we were played before. And by the end we were selling out and people were queuing up, and it wasn't a sort of phenomenon like Insomnia Babble, but
it was good.
But it was still great. Standing ovations every day, and it built, and the last Saturday was just amazing. Like people, it was just one of the great performances of my life in there. It was just amazing.
Yeah, it was brilliant.
For whatever reason, the audience came in and everything just clicked, and and that's what I love that. Yeah, sometimes like that. It's just.
Yeah.
It's one of our most feel-good shows as well, wasn't it? I mean, Insomnia Battle was to an extent, but Art of Falling Apart, people really connected with on quite.
Yes, well, we set out to make something that was very clearly.
Isn't that the one that ends with the
emotional.
running?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
right.
and it was that
6
whole
minutes,
idea
34
again
seconds.
of. I remember we were stuck for what was going to happen at the end, and we didn't. We had the whole show, but we didn't have the sequence for where Callum confronts his dead father, and which is the sort of the key to why he's behaved like he's behaved. And I remember, it was like really late on, and we didn't have an idea. And I remember just going to Waterstones and sitting there until I had the idea, and then came back and we did it the next day or whatever. And and then when you've got an actor like Tim that you can just is playing this very sweet, quite innocent. And silly character, but then to just move into this really strong, very moving figure of the ghost of his the vision of his dead father, and it's just like I love those moments where we're making people laugh, and then suddenly it turns, and then
it's probably one of the first times we did that, isn't it? It's where we did the character switching, and we didn't try it for comic effect, and we went the other way.
Yeah, of course, absolutely.
Really full of pathos.
Out of nowhere.
Yeah. So just like,
The final night of that at the Unity, the last performance was fucking intense. The run at the end and all of it. I mean, I'd seen it.
Yeah.
Was it 12 months prior to that it had been on?
Yeah.
You'd done it twice.
we did it twice and then did it again.
Yeah.
But that
As a
second
finish,
one, it had just obviously gathered a lot more to it.
Yeah,
And
we done it in Edinburgh as well.
And I think because people knew as well. Like, there was that audience and that group that had come with us over, 10, 12 years.
And we said this is probably
the last thing. And so it was again the sum of its parts as the
And I
audience
got up on
willing us
stage
on.
and
Getting Bob there, which was lovely for us.
But we made that ending in a slightly cynical way to give this emotional push to the end, so people would stand up at the end. That was always in my thinking. That we made that, and we chose. I mean, we sort of based it on "Fix You" by Coldplay, and we sort of wanted that sort of emotional push of that piece of music. And we clearly, after we'd done it the first time, and then for Edinburgh, I remember, and Matt was very good at this, just sitting down with Simon and going, right, we want that to build at that moment, and then that moment. So it's very clearly built in within that very emotional, thrusting piece of guitar music to keep, just to build it and build it and build it, and then Tim running back and forward, and then Matt running on the spot for 2.5 minutes.
It's not 6 minutes. It's about 6 minutes. It's long, man.
Yeah.
From the walking bit.
Right.
The
Okay.
thing
So
was-
a long
Maybe not 6, but long.
Yeah. But a long time. So as well as it being very emotional and sort of somehow connecting with people in their emotion part around the back of their head, it was just watching two actors who you've watched give their body and soul for you for an hour and 20 minutes,
Certainly.
And now for the end they're going to run. They're going to run on the spot for 4 minutes.
But whether intentional or not, it's sort of like, that scene at the end of The Long Good Friday.
Yes.
When it's
my
just
goodness.
Hoskins' face. And he tells him to go through the whole movie in his head, doesn't he, the director? I forget the name of it. And so with the running on the spot that I recall, it seemed to be like, you sort of looking at the face, and it's almost like you're going through the whole piece. That's how it seemed. It seemed like the facial expressions were giving it away, and I remember you being quite animated, as if you were running out of breath, and you were fighting and stuff like that.
Various different.
Because the light would go on and off, wouldn't it, and then keep cutting back, as I recall.
Well, it was very clearly meant to be cathartic, a very cathartic moment of this character who's been through everything that he's been through, and just letting it all go, and he's running to his future, and then he's seeing all these other images of the modern world behind him.
Being everyone else.
Yes.
Oh, you really should put it on again. You really should put it. I'd love to see that piece again. That was so fucking good. You just brought all the ending back to me now, and that's like, ooh. You don't really. Well, you don't want to feel that much, do you? But then when you're sort of confined in a theatre and you were forced to.
And I think people love that, like you're talking about the Big I Am, and what people have loved about it is that it's very funny, but then you're made to feel something very strongly as well. you know, and that's what I think we hit in both in Somnambule Babble, in Friendship. I think we did as well, and then big time in Art Falling Apart.
Yeah,
you know. So whereas the other ones were all just full on silly,
Yeah.
or pissing about. So, you know, whatever we used to say we were
Pissing about as an art form.
Yeah. Well, it certainly was.
Yeah.
I mean, it certainly was.
We like to make it look shambolic, but it was anything but. You know, we would work out
Infinite
rhythms to a millimetre.
Yeah. I mean, that was very obvious. I mean, it's sort of the more I did over those years, the more I began to respect what you did. You know, and it really hit home how hard work it was. And I don't just mean the physical aspect of it. It's really difficult to have a conversation and make it look spontaneous, but then to get all those inflections right, you know, it was, you know, you're a very, very talented boy.
Because I think there's a thing when you devise stuff that ideas will emerge that don't happen when you're sitting at a desk. And that's what I always, and when I remember seeing Matt and Tim were in this Spike show called The Man Who Cracked, and I always remember there's a bit in it where Matt exits through a window. Yeah. And I just love that, because it was such a great devised moment that you would never think of, or you would I don't think you'd think of whilst writing something, but in the process of being a group of actors in a room, thinking up ideas and in the moment of that, boom, he just left via the window, and I just thought it was brilliant.
Yeah.
But then with devised theatre, and I think, you know, say definitely with a show like that, you know, it was like the structure and language is all over the place, and it doesn't have a controlling thing, and that was always what I meant about that. It's so we would sit and go through things, or get rhythms, or get lines, and know what the journey of something was, and then I'd go away and script it, and then we'd work on it again, and then we'd
read it, and then Bob would go, just put the script down, and that's roughly what it is. And then when we did it again, it was mainly what Bob said, but new bits would
come in, and but so it would come out of us being in a room together.
Yeah, that's the lovely part about it.
Yeah,
that when you start putting the layers on top, isn't it?
Yeah.
To the bits that you've done.
But it was always very scripted.
Oh, sure. I mean, but that's the thing that people sort of go part of the way there, and then they don't work hard enough to develop ideas. I think that's always the thing that certainly I found when I was teaching as well. As I'm sure you all have.
Yes.
There's people who are really, really good, but they're not prepared to put the hard work in to make it rise above
absolutely
what everyone else can. And when anyone asks you anything, you know, what is the difference between this and that, and it's generally hard bloody graft, isn't it? I mean, what you're describing about writing it down and to the outside observer, it's like, oh god, that sounds like a lot of fun, but it's also hard work.
Yes.
I mean, it really, really
oh my
is,
god, yeah.
it? You know, you know, with shows, it's just like the iceberg. You only ever see the tip. You don't see all the mechanics. And all that. You know, I mean, when there
was a dress rehearsal of Dark Grumblings before we did the actual show. I don't know how it was one of the lowest points of my so-called theatrical life.
Yeah.
That was how that became a show, I don't know.
No.
What happened?
Not a lot.
So what was this?
But it was the dress. It was almost the dress.
But I mean,
it wasn't even a dress. I don't know what it was. Yeah.
It was the first show, wasn't it?
No, it was in the Hope Street.
It
was at Hope Street, and it was just.
It was just like, what is this?
Yeah, we have no idea what it is. It felt only about 15 minutes long. It was like, we need another hour of material.
But again,
somehow it turned into a show.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's an interesting part of the process again, and that goes back to the work. Because you've then got to, I mean, that's demoralising. When you've worked on something and you're like, oh shit.
And especially when we'd had a show that people loved unreservedly.
Yeah.
And then, what do we follow that up with? Yeah.
So it doesn't sound like Dark Grumblings was the hit you wanted it to be at Edinburgh.
No. Quite definitely not. Although we did get nominated for another. We did okay.
Yeah, we did okay.
Yeah.
We did okay, but it didn't. We only got nominated for another ensemble award, which we didn't win. But
just niche, really.
Yeah.
Just too niche.
Yeah, you said it was all Japanese horror and stuff, didn't you?
And that was a great day. We went to the Arts Council because we struck up a rapport and a relationship with them, and we went to visit them quite regularly. We went to visit them after Insomnobabble, and we had no ideas for a show afterwards. They said, "So what are you going to do next?" Me and Matt just sat there, dumbstruck, while Bob just went, "We're going to make a show about Japanese horror." And we just looked at each other and went, "Are we? Yeah, we are."
My favourite kind of horror.
I'm so intrigued by it. I really need to see. Have you got any recordings of that?
What I loved about that was that a couple of times in that we hit genuine moments of scariness.
Right.
Especially one near the beginning that I loved when you played that faceless character who just.
And we did a
moved across the
rewind
back.
and then back.
Yeah. Wonderful.
Well, you're writing a horror story, aren't you?
I'm always trying to write a horror story.
Oh, are you? Right,
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm trying to write a folk horror play at the moment. That's my.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think horror on stage is something there's not enough of it, and if you can hit it, it's really delicious, and I think it's quite close to comedy. I think that thing of having, like I was talking about with when the moment of seriousness, so, when you turn an audience from laughter into something else, a moment of silence, or if it's genuinely scary, they're lulled into a false sense of security with laughter, and then suddenly you can go, oh, and then something else happens that scares the pants off them, and audiences love it.
Yeah, well, fear and laughter, I mean, it's global, isn't it?
Yeah.
Regardless of language, you're susceptible to that sort of thing. So, yeah, I do love a good horror, and I will send you...
Yes, we were talking about...
Do you still want it?
Panda's Fen.
Panda's Fen.
Yeah, please, yeah.
Oh, that is
so I'm going to be writing that over the summer, yeah.
Oh, good. I look forward to that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the world needs more of them. You used to have so much of that stuff going on, with secret societies and...
Yeah.
I think that Hot Fuzz had a crack at taking the piss out of it, didn't they?
Yes.
Which they did quite successfully, really.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I'd love to see it taken seriously again. There's some great old, goes at it. But, I mean, Tim's bleeding head is what you need for any horror film, really, So what is
I
the
thought
future
about
then
maybe
with that?
talking about slightly those, because I was watching a Dario Argento film the other weekend, and this is where Matt goes, "Who's Dario Argento?" And
I don't know who it is.
because me and Tim would always talk about all these filmmakers.
Isn't it bird-breasted women Italian horror sort of things?
What is it?
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Giallo stuff.
Oh yeah,
But-
Giallo, yeah.
And Suspiria, I think, is right.
That's
This
the
is-
one.
It's a masterpiece.
Yeah,
but I do.
Dude, where's my car?
There is
Matt's
this
not
complete
interested.
dream world. But I was thinking that Insomnobabble would be a reasonable basis for a horror film,
Right.
because it is sort of a horror film.
Yeah, it could
But if
be.
you could,
Sort of could be horrible. but
because it's a man who
doesn't know where he is.
and
He
sleep
keeps waking up in
deprivation,
different rooms.
and sleep deprivation is a very terrifying place to be.
Oh yeah. I've been there. It's
So
hot.
yeah,
It is
so
horrid.
it's so that sort of twisted. Yeah. So anyway, that's an idea that I'm thinking about.
Yeah, it sounds good. What about you, Tim? Are you still doing your script writing course?
Do a bit. No, that was a while ago. It was
5 years ago, Michael.
Been and gone.
Sorry, I was drunk.
The phone not ringing.
No.
No, but I mean, I think I've learned a lot from working with Bob and Matt, and I think if anything, I certainly understand writing a lot more from that, or certainly the way I'd like to write as well. So anything I do that I consider passably successful, and things that I've written are I probably owe to working with Big Wow, really.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I'm still up for doing that if you want to do it. What you were on about a while back, the idea of the audio thing.
Yeah.
And,
Absolutely.
And now we can actually
Yeah.
go somewhere and record
We
it,
need to
really,
find
sat
time,
around the
yeah.
table. That's partly why I built
Yes.
this. I'd like to go more into doing audio
Yes.
stuff. Just get it out there.
Yeah.
Why not?
No, because I found some of that script for that original Albion thing that we did. There was some really nice stuff there.
Yeah, I think again, it's like you say with any process, you get in a room, you try it, and then you take it to pieces and put it back together. It's just.
But I would like us as Big Wow to do another show at some point. But whether that is possible, who knows?
Yeah.
But
The time
and I
space
think the only way
continuum.
that's going to happen is if me and Tim sort of sit down and sketch out something, and then
You'd want to start from the beginning. You wouldn't want to do anything you've done before.
no,
Right.
not at this moment in
No.
time. No. I think I'd want to just so we do a. Me and Tim would have to go away and come up with something, and then bring Matt in, and then we'll start you know.
Basically, I'm the problem.
No. The Matt's. Yeah,
Yeah,
There's
so
only
just
so
Matt's
far
again.
you can
No,
get
no,
words.
no,
Just
no.
A of time and B
Matt's
of
face on it.
Yeah,
That's
but
true.
I'm already stretched in life.
Yeah.
yes.
But yeah,
And Matt's not the writer of the three of us, but
No.
although he's a great. I don't know what I admire
Make
about
a
Matt.
rapper.
No, but what Matt's a great editor of work. I
Yeah.
think and looking at, and often we'd look at things or the structure of things, and
structure. I like
Matt had
looking
this
at
great
structure.
instinct about where things should go or what could go, or
Yeah.
yeah.
So it's going
in
to have
terms
to
of
be.
that piece of music at the end.
Yeah, and the
Matt was
music
Matt,
and
Matt,
stuff
Matt
was
was
always
instrumental
made
in
sense.
that of just getting Simon to go, right, we'll just put the extra bass in there, put the extra drum in there, and then you just build it up. So when it finishes,
Yeah.
150 people on their feet.
Yeah. So it's going to have to be all new. So that means lots of time, doesn't it? So the idea of you putting Dark Grumblings on for
No.
a special Christmas show.
Yeah.
ain't
Too
gonna
dependent
happen.
on the set as well, which is sadly no longer with us.
Oh, the big telly.
Yeah. And as well, the longer we leave it between, much as some of the shows, I'm sure we'd love to revisit if we could.
Yeah.
I'd
love to do them
but,
again, but
to be fair, doing like the last one was 28 shows in a row in Edinburgh, and it was we had to be athletes to get that, and we are
yes, there was a bit of that.
Yeah.
It became very,
our
very
bodies slowly
I'll
fading.
bet. I'll bet.
I mean, all the running on the spot for Matt every day, because he'd do it twice a day, because he'd rehearse it 2 or 3 times as well. So it'd be pretty full on, because he'd have to get the timings of everything right. So it's
Yeah. Or you'd have had to do a weekend at Bernie's with me and tie me to your fucking arms and legs. I couldn't have done it. I'd have just been dead.
Yes.
Absolutely dead. Oh, well, so stuff's going to happen someday, isn't it? I mean, that's the bottom line. Maybe.
Yeah, I make notes in my notebooks occasionally about things that but
Draw a little Matt and Tim.
yeah, but who knows?
That'd be fantastic. I mean, what lies ahead for the rest of the year then for all of you? You got the summer off now, have you?
I will have the summer off, but yeah, we're down with Yep taking a piece down to the European Festival of Youth Theatre in Birmingham, which is great. 36 Scouse young people.
Oh yeah, that sounds
for a week in Birmingham. No,
like
which
a
is
hoot.
great, and it's a really lovely place to be in. They're brilliant.
And what is it that you do?
Well, it was a version of a piece called "Until the Kick Us Out" that we did in the past about politics, but actually it's about Brexit basically. We were trying to update that, but as it happens, it's turning actually more into its own thing, which would be fine because nobody in Birmingham saw the original one, so they don't know it's totally different.
Yeah,
but it's great. It's them trying to figure out what on earth's going on.
Yeah,
and they're all a bit brilliant.
It must be pretty strange being that age, I always think now, because they've known nothing but war for a kick-off. And then I remember you were doing stuff years ago with Youth Theatre, and it was all about the CCTV on the estate.
Yeah, bits
so
of
that's
everything.
something that I can't imagine living on a little estate where you're being watched all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, it is prison, isn't it, really? So stuff like that must be...
But they're great, and it's great. I love just getting people to say things that are in their heads.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
On the stage.
No, I remember doing the innovation stuff at the college. That was great fun as well.
I used to love that module.
Yeah, it was good. Except when you made us run round, you bastard. Fucking hell. And what about you, Roberto? What are you doing for the rest of the year? I mean, you're writing your...
I'm just going to sit down, and so we've just had this, I think could be, called a success with my version of Peer Gynt at the Everyman, and that's, watch this space, it may return.
Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be great.
They didn't get rid of, they put the set in storage, so yeah.
Well, that's the rep company though. That did that.
So hopefully something will happen with that, if not with Liverpool, but somewhere else. And so that went really well. So I just need to sit down and, me and Nick, the director, are talking about other projects, and I've got this big,
little ideas in his book.
Yeah, I've got lots of ideas that write me folk horror play and writing me, various other.
Well, one thing with
things.
Peer Gynt I wondered was, how did his hair grow back?
Yes, and he got taller.
He did. He did.
As he got older, he got taller,
Yeah,
and his hair grew back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it was
the
good.
magic
That.
of theatre.
Yeah.
Yes, I suppose so.
Yeah.
I suppose so. And what about you, Tim? You having a nice summer off now?
No, well, I'm finishing off my MA this year, which is good. On the dissertation stage, I have been writing as well, and there's a couple of things I've got that I'm interested in. Might actually show it to someone at some point.
Fantastic.
Fantastic. A couple of ideas that have gestated.
Tim's play that was lovely. That you should do something with that.
Yeah, might do. I've written another. I keep writing two-handers for some reason. I don't know. It's kind of like withdrawal needs there. I keep writing plays with two-handers.
Can only write two-handers.
Yeah, I've got 3 two-handers on the go at the moment. None of which is suitable for me.
So what are you going to do with them? Are you going to put them into?
Well, no, honestly, if someone said to me, "Do you know what? That's all right, that Tim," I'd actually have a go at putting something on for a change rather than just letting it just sit in a drawer as I've done with some of the other things. Because I've got lots of sketches. Because I just write for fun, really.
Yeah. You should come down to my stand-up night.
Sounds
You'd love that.
Sounds like a plan. not participating though.
No, I think you'd be fantastic at it, by the way. But no.
I think stand-up's very different to what we did, because that became very obvious. Because on a couple of occasions we did. People would say, "Oh, come and do a big wow at a stand-up night," and it wouldn't work.
It would die.
Because it was so clearly.
We did it at a stand-up night.
Yeah,
we did it at a comedy club in Manchester, and we got heckled by John Bishop, who was on after us for being rubbish. Because it was a comedy sketch in what was clearly a stand-up's environment, and it just
didn't work.
lead balloon.
Yeah, no, it is.
People didn't have the context to understand what they were watching, or they didn't want to watch that. They didn't want a piece of.
Yeah, because we'd done it in a theatre before, and it had gone down great. It's just like.
But you seem to inhabit the theatre.
Yeah, it's very clearly that.
Yeah.
You know, so when we did Shepherd's Bush with a load of other stand-ups, it was very clearly, it was at the beginning of the evening and very clearly before, and the audience were a bit more forgiving of it not being stand-up.
Yeah.
You know, and they were very clearly told what it was.
Yeah.
And then went along with it for whatever the 10 minutes or so, however long it lasted. But
it's
a very different energy and understanding that you have to have with the audience.
Yeah, it's very character driven, isn't it? What you're doing, you sort of do invest loads in the characters as an audience member.
Yeah, and very rarely did we include the audience, although very on occasions we did, but very there was quite a fourth wall aspect to a lot of it.
Oh yeah, I mean, I remember seeing it for the first time. Going, "Oh, you can do that, can you?" Right, cool.
Like what do you mean?
Well, like them having a telephone conversation on opposite sides of the stage, but actually looking and reacting as if they were.
Yeah.
Sort of
No, because I remember that thing when we did in Somnobabble where we decided that idea had come up in one of the sketches of that they wouldn't look at each other for the whole piece.
Yeah.
You know, and we thought, okay, let's just keep that going.
And then that turn at the end.
And then so when at the end when Keith and Rose look at each other, you know, they actually turn and look at each other. It's got this. It's really powerful.
Yeah.
First time Matt and Tim make eye contact in the whole show.
Yeah.
And then we try and neck on with each
Yeah.
other. Just to ruin it.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's a good point to wrap it up, boys.
Rightio, wrap it up.
Thank you all.
very much,
Michael.
Mike.
And I'll see you all somewhere on the stage or in the street. No,
Yes.
not wandering around in Liverpool. Cheers, chaps.
Nice
Thank
one,
you.
Mike.
Nice one.
Cheers, fella.
Cheers.
Cheers.